I want to take a second to talk about how to make digital content accessible everywhere in the world, even in the most remote areas. So, my name is Valentine. As you might guess by my name or my accent, I come from Ukraine. I live here since about 30 years ago now, and you can ask me anything when it comes to create digital content or how to create teams that use modern tools in this day and age. As a matter of fact, this is exactly what we do. We help a lot of organizations that do social impact modernize their teams. But actually, I don't want to talk about this today. I want to go further away with you. I was lucky enough to travel in about 30 countries by now, often for work, often for humanitarian mission, and always had that same nagging feeling. So whether I was in the Sahel Desert in West Africa or in the hills of Bolivia doing missions with Aboriginal communities, always feels like there's just not enough time and everything's too slow. And it's not just me. I spoke with a lot of people over time. I spoke with a lot of people over time that kind of also often pinpoint internet connectivity as a raw issue that makes everything so slow. When we went back home, we started looking at the numbers, and this is some of the latest stats you can have on the topic. Half of the world did not connect to internet in the last 3 months. This is right now. And don't think you're so lucky here in Canada. About half of rural populations here in Canada do not have basic internet speed. So if two people try to be on a Zoom call at the same time, that's a no-go. We took a bit of time over COVID, through those about 2 years, and we burned through a lot of funding, and I think we figured a nice solution that could work in those setups. Curious to hear it? Fantastic. So, work on a small little device. Now, let me actually give you a real example of what we did instead of explaining to you. Let's skip to the end. So recently, we did a project with Park Canada. That's the agency that manages all the national parks in the country. And they had a very peculiar issue. They were working on creating this beautiful cultural content, but they had an issue. The users, those who visit the park, couldn't access them. Why? There's no internet in that park. It's too remote. You cannot even use your cell phone. So what we did, and they got in touch with us, is we deployed 13 of those devices, and we grabbed the content that they worked on, deployed it here, and that saved them up to about $250,000 to just wire electrically the park. This thing can run on batteries. So that's one simple example, but of course we have organizations that already have a website. We have organizations that already have their files through various systems like Google Drive and OneDrive. We have devices right now that are deployed that have the entirety of Wikipedia in French or in English or in Spanish on that device. So we're fairly flexible. We take that content, we put it in that device. And the reason why organizations use this is because, first of all, it's wireless. You can use your good old Wi-Fi. You don't need anything fancy. We tried, even on a phone like that, you can connect, and that's an unlimited buffet of content. It's quite power efficient. Often what people do, for example, in the case of Park Canada, is they'll use a simple portable battery, and this powers it through the day. Of course, we didn't want any fancy tech that is very easy to break. This thing is designed to be just thrown in your backpack or for deployment in the field, and most importantly, it's very light. It's designed so you can bring a few of those devices in the field and leave it there. And for some of the admin in the audience, you'll probably find this last feature interesting. When you're offline, it's really hard to have the numbers about how people consume your content. With this, we can actually tell you in great deal of detail how many users connected to watch how many hours of content, to consult how many pages. In some cases, this is a sufficient argument for organizations to justify the cost of those devices. Oh, forget the cost. It's less than $200. If you're trying to make something accessible, the price has to match. So, of course, Park Canada is just one of the projects we're working on. We have deployments in Madagascar. We have some in rural schools in Mexico. I think one of my favorite projects is in school. There's one school recently that contacted us. They were in Quebec City. Their issue was not that they don't have enough internet. They had too much internet. They just wanted to do an educational activity where kids can connect to a safe network without getting lost on Instagram. And they bought 2 of those devices just for one classroom. So, of course, we're running out of time. The stage we're in right now is commercialization. Take a look at your communities, at your teams. If that's an issue you have, just get in touch with me. I'll be on that side. Thank you.